FILO. FILO. First in, last out. I think it's like one of the best things that you can do. And obviously not everyone can do this. You know, and I'm not saying like if you don't do this, you won't get better or anything like that. But some of the best guys I've ever seen excel the most at the fastest pace, or people who are standing at the top, or people who aren't very good that got to an unbelievable level in such a short amount of time frame in terms of like span of duration, right, is they followed this theory of first in, last out. You know, if training starts at 10 a.m., you get there at 9, you do some extra drill time. You do the actual class, and then 11 o'clock class is done. You stay and grab someone, then you do extra rolls or extra rounds or whatever it is, or you ask questions, right? And I'll give you an example. Greg Reagan, who's sitting behind the camera right now, he hasn't had that much judo experience, right? Maybe 5 or 6 years or whatever it is. But in terms of like people who've spent their whole life doing judo 5 days a week, 6 days a week for freaking decades on end, those people have obviously a much more volume behind their training, right, in terms of their whole life. But if you're doing judo at a recreational club 2 or 3 times a week, it's just not enough to catch out majority of the time. But Greg Reagan has such an efficient way of approaching, because he's in the dojo first at 5 in the morning teaching privates. He's working out during the day. He's watching judo videos. He's clipping these videos for me. So his exposure to judo is a lot bigger, right? And it's not just like actual time in the class. Actual time in the class. Maybe he does 2 classes a week now, right? Because he's training jiu-jitsu like once a week. And then so actual classes, he's only doing 2 or 3 classes. But the idea of first and last out at the dojo kind of puts him in a different position where he's exposed to judo much more, talking about it, actually like listening to me talk about this stuff right now behind the camera, you know? And it's not limited to just like a long time span, but it could be sort of condensed in that training. And I'll give you another example. If you're very limited on time, oh man, I could only make it to class, etc., etc. Here's a really good one, and I do this too. 5-minute rolls, 5 rounds, let's just say. Okay, so there's 25 minutes of rolling, and there's a minute in between each roll to find a new partner, right? You can maximize your time by starting your roll a little bit early, right? You preemptively set, hey, let's go number 2, let's go number 3, whatever it is. Timer goes off, second roll ends, third roll begins. You already know who you're going against. You go right up to them and you just start going. There's 40 seconds left on the counter, right? You get an extra 40 seconds, right? First and last out. I mean, kind of first and last out. Maybe it's like in between. But just we're talking about time, you know? And would it really hurt you or affect your life that much more if you stayed an extra 20 minutes to do some drills? And it doesn't have to be hard, intense drills. That's the biggest misconception. Oh, he's such a hard worker. He's always working out hard. I'm not a big believer of always working out hard. Always working out smart, efficiently, having the mind component, right, where your mind is engaged. Like I just said, Greg Reagan doesn't do a lot of hard randori anymore. How many randori does he do in a week? How many do you think?
5, 6.
Yeah, not a lot at all. Majority of it is just being exposed to judo, talking about judo, teaching judo, drilling judo. That's, yeah.
Just being gripped up.
Being gripped up, being in a gi, you know, being in front of me, being in front of good coaches, et cetera, et cetera. So first and last out, I think, is one of the most important concepts. Not important concepts, but, you get what I'm saying. It's a very important thing. And class starts at 10, don't be late, you know? That's like last in. You know what I mean? Last in, first out is the worst thing. Coming in late and then leaving early. Don't do that. You're gonna suck forever. Right? Don't do that. First in, right? Try to be on time if you can. Obviously within reason. Everyone has a life. And now I have a kid. I have to drop off my kid at school and then go to training in the morning. So obviously I can't not drop off my kid at school and then go to training. That's just ridiculous, right? You have to have priorities in life. But if it's a 10 a.m. class, you could almost guarantee that I'll be there 9:40. Almost guarantee that. You know what I mean? And then if I have days where it's like, hey, Pat, you want to work out with me a little bit early? Hey, let's meet at 9:20. So I get an extra 40 minutes of just like spending time in the gi, doing stuff, working stuff out. Hey, I saw this on YouTube. Hey, I saw this on Instagram. Hey, let me feel this position out. Hey, this thing that you're doing, way to guard or way to sweep, like, can you do it so I can kind of figure out a way out of it? And he's like, sure, more than happy to. Class starts, I already have such a head start. I'm already in the mindset. I've already been doing drills, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? And I get extra time because I volunteer as uke at Essential Jiu-Jitsu. So when Damjoni comes over and he's like, hey, I need uke, before he does the actual technique in front of the class, he's like, hey, let me come here, let me show you what I'm doing, and I get to ask him extra questions, right? So I get so much more time, and it's just so efficient, and just the volume is just so much. It helps that I'm such a likable person. But that kind of stuff really, I think, goes a long way. And it's a pleasure for me to be uke over there, and because everyone needs ukes, right? Ukes are the most underappreciated people in this game. And then when I do my rolls, after the class ends, if there's no class, I'll try to get some extra time in, always. And then I ask questions, and I try to think about my rolls, and sometimes I'm like walking around talking to myself. I look like a crazy person. But it's because I'm trying to organize the contents of the matches from that day. And then so that's truly first in, last out, and I'm there maybe, no more than 40 minutes extra, 20 minutes before, 20 minutes after. And I think that kind of stuff makes a huge difference, right? And adds up throughout the course of the week. If I'm going to training 4 days out of the week, 5 days out of the week, and if I do that 5 times, you get an extra 2 or 3 sessions in almost. As it's not like going to training 5 days a week, it's like going to training 7 days a week, but then you could still have your rest days on the weekends. So first in, last out, a big tip for you guys. Try to incorporate this mindset in your life, but don't annoy your coaches. I can't stress that enough. Yeah.